let's today talk about how much horsepower you can make on an STI, what you need for the 3 appropriate power levels for most people: 300, 400, 500 wheel horsepower.
Right. So 300 is easy.
Yeah.
Right. If you've got an STI, the stock intercooler will handle that.
Okay.
That's about all it'll handle. The stock injectors will handle that. The stock fuel pump will handle that. Not much more, but it'll handle it on 91 octane. So realistically, all you're really going to need is a tune, an exhaust, an intake, and ideally you do a downpipe too, but you don't absolutely need it.
That's what I was going to ask you when you said exhaust. Full exhaust, or
just cap back to start with, but a downpipe will make it a little bit easier. If you don't do the downpipe, you're going to be somewhere in that 290 to 300 range on 91 octane. Maybe 300 to 310 on 93.
Okay.
If you do the downpipe, it's going to give us a little bit more room, a little bit better spool up. But a lot of places you can't, right? So that's all you need for 300. So
quick tangent, but how do you feel about top mount intercoolers on an EJ, considering where the turbo is located?
Yeah, top mount intercoolers are perfectly fine up to about 400 to 450 horsepower.
Right.
Anything more than that, I got to recommend a front mount at that point, just because we're putting too much airflow in and we can't get enough airflow through that hood scoop. Right. And if you want to go with a big, giant hood scoop, maybe a little bit more, but it's just, you're getting a lot of heat soak, right? And you can only cram so much intercooler into that space. So if we're looking for 400 horsepower, now I got to ask you a question. Do you want to do it on 91 or you want to do it on E85, right?
Right.
For E85, it's really easy. We've always talked about my favorite street turbo, Blastown 1.5. There are plenty of other turbos out there that'll make the power too. Just look for one that's going to be able to make somewhere in the range of 40 to 50 pounds per minute of airflow.
Yeah.
All right. You're going to do a downpipe, an exhaust, ideally a decent intercooler upgrade up top, and 1,000 cc to at least 1,000 cc, if not 1,300 cc injectors.
Right.
Fuel pump, flex fuel, boom, you're done.
I always tell people 1,300s ideally, just because it's nice to have that little bit of headroom, especially on injector duty cycle.
And I don't think the prices really vary that much between them, right?
Yeah, it's pretty negligible.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So just get the 1,300s, and then 400 will be easy on the 85, 450, a little bit more pushing it, but it can still be done.
Even on stock fuel pump?
No, you need a fuel pump. So when I say flex fuel, I'm talking fuel pump, injectors, and flex fuel kit.
Right. So so it's not
stock fuel pump's done after about 300 to 320 on pump gas. It just
and what are so you guys know on my STI, I originally went with the AAM 340. Is there any other fuel pumps you recommend?
Anything in that 350 to 400 range. So Walbro, any kind of pump you want to do. I think Aeromotive makes a drop in, so there's a bunch out there. So
and something you guys should know, if you guys don't, about the measurements, I could say, like they claim 340 liters per hour of flow. If you do not directly wire the pump, that 340 is actually about what,
Yeah, it's going to drop off at higher RPMs because the wiring is actually going to get hot, and as the wiring to the fuel pump gets hot, it's going to increase in resistance. More resistance means you're going to drop voltage, and the pump's not going to run as well. So you might want to consider getting a hardwire kit for your pump at the higher levels. Yeah. So 400 on E85 is easy. 400 on gas, a little bit harder. You can still do it with something like a 1.5 or a 20G from Cobb or any turbos in those range.
Like that STI, it's pretty close to making 400 on pump.
You might want to err a little bit on the bigger side if you want to do it on pump gas, because a bigger turbo is more efficient at those power levels, which means you're going to produce less heat, which means less chance of detonation, right? And when I say it's a little more difficult on 91 on pump gas, I mean 91. 93, it's a fair bit easier.
Right.
The more power you make, the bigger the gap between 91 and 93 becomes. Right, 91 is it's crap gas. It just is. So you're going to need that bigger turbo. You're going to need the intercooler. You won't need as big an injector. If you're only looking for 91 octane and 400 horsepower, thousands are more than enough. You could even go with a 750 or something like that if you wanted to. But just go for the thousands. They're readily available. Still get the fuel pump, right? But basically the same mods as you would see on a 400 horsepower E85 car. You're just going to have to be tuned a little more carefully. You have to be a little more cautious about what you get to. We're not going to make as much torque because we don't push that cylinder pressure up, so we're going to bring it in a little bit softer and then kind of keep that torque as flat as we can coming up to the top end. So that'll get you your 400 on 91, and that's with a top mount still. So, and that's about as much as you're ever going to see on a top mount 91 octane car. Can you push further? Could you get more? Yes. It's just you're taking too many risks at that point.
Add more timing.
You're dealing with a crappy fuel. You're trying to push 22, 23, 24 pounds of boost, and it just doesn't work real well in 91 octane. 93 guys, have at it. You got a better shot than people out here in California. So 500, now we're talking about you're getting to that range where it's like, what do I want to spend and how much do I want to do?
And honestly, guys, look, so a true 500 wheel to the tire, and I tell guys this all the time. I mean, I think you really, really have to love the platform. Because, I mean, it's still a considerable amount of money you have to spend.
Yeah, well, let's start with it, right? So number one, you're going to need a clutch.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely,
Yeah,
you need a clutch.
Get ready to shell that money out.
Yeah, you're going to need a clutch for it. You're going to need, at least 1,300 cc injectors if you're running E85 or bigger. So you probably look at like 1,700s now. Now you're getting to the range of injector size where your idle quality is going to go down a little bit, especially if you're running pump gas.
Yep.
Right? Trying to get up there. You're going to need a front mount intercooler. Right?
Yeah, that's a necessity.
You could do a Process West top mount on E85 at 500, but now that intercooler is going to be getting really hot after a couple passes. So you're now reaching. You never want to be at 100% on something on your car, especially if it's a daily driver. You want to keep it running right. So you want to have some headroom, you have some cushion there. And even a Process West top mount, which is a great intercooler, is still kind of pushing it at 500 horsepower, even on E85. Right? On 91, no, not good enough. The other thing you have to think about too is when you go to a front mount intercooler, it's often not enough just to bolt the intercooler in. If you look at a lot of setups on STIs, especially some of the newer VA stuff, you'll see that when you put that intercooler in there, most of it's covered up by the bumper, right?
Yep.
So you're not getting a lot of airflow. Third to half of that intercooler is seeing no direct airflow at all. Now, it's still a heat sink. It's still going to pull some heat out of that charge air, but it's not like it's being exposed to a bunch of air like if you cut your bumper out. So now you got to ask yourself, am I willing to cut my bumper at this point so that the intercooler is working properly? If not, you have to watch things more carefully. You have to tune it a little more cautiously because you're not going to be getting that thermal performance that you expect out of the intercooler.
Right, and that's a big reason why. I mean, I cut up my front bumper.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides the fuel system changes, also now you got to decide: are you going to try and stay stock location, or are you going to go rotated mount? Right.
Yep. There are plenty of turbos that make 500 wheel, like FP Black, and you can push. A lot of people I see in the comment section were talking about FP Greens. The FP Green is a very good turbo, and it can be pushed, right, to make 500.
Yeah.
But when you look at the initial investment of, let's say, okay, if you're pushing for 500, you're more than likely, right, going to keep pushing for 6, 7, potentially.
It's an addiction. Yeah, people, you get used to one power level and you want a little bit more. And if you if you chose a turbo that maxes out at 500 and you don't have the self-control or the wherewithal to say, I'm done here,
I mean, look at my car.
Yeah. Everybody goes, you're going to have to buy another turbo then. And if you have to switch at that point from stock location to rotated mount, you've increased your cost dramatically. So ask yourself honestly, are you going to want more than 500 someday?
Yeah, exactly. Because like the BCP X500 Plus that we dynoed on my car, I bought that turbo brand new with all the hardware included. Was, let's say, $1,900. Yeah. That $1,900 could have been allocated for my rotated kit, which luckily, I've got it for a good deal. It was $4,000. Well, that's almost 50% of what I could have made, bought that turbo kit.
Well, and let's be honest. While there are a lot of good turbos for stock location stuff, there are even better turbos for rotated mount stuff, right? So
100%.
All kinds of Garrett the new G25, G30 series stuff, all kinds of precision turbos. There's some really nice turbos out there that you can put into a rotated setup and pretty much do whatever you want. And when I say really nice, I don't mean just big power. I mean better spool up for the size, more efficiency, better charge temperatures. You just have a lot more options when you go rotated. So ask yourself, will 500 be enough? Am I going to try and eke out 510, 520 on this stock location turbo? Or do I just want to go big eventually and go ahead and go with that rotated mount?
Something we can talk about in another video too is when you guys talk about going rotated, I think a lot of people associate going rotated with a, let's say, for example, my car, a giant Snail 6870, but that doesn't have to be the case.
No, 64, 66, right?
So, or even smaller.
Yeah. So now you're getting into a lot more cost at this point. And that's why I think, personally, the sweet spot for me for an EJ STI on the street is probably, if I'm running E85, probably in that 450 range.
Right.
You're still gonna spool up by 3,500 RPM, so you got plenty of RPM to play with. The turbo's gonna be responsive. It's not so much that you're worried about breaking any driveline components.
I wouldn't even sweat it.
An upgraded clutch is nice, but you can always turn the torque down a little bit if you don't want to do that. You're not going to be stressing your thermal components. The radiator's not going to be overworked. It's nice. It's enough power that if you throw it hard into a second gear corner and you're on boost, you get a little bit of four-wheel drift going on coming out of it. You can get a good launch out of it without having to worry about bogging it down or blowing up the clutch. It works, and you can still run pump gas without having to worry about turning it way down. Because you're trying to push too much power. So, when that 500 point, it's probably somewhere between 450 and 500 is where you have to really make those big decisions about where you're planning to go with the car. And this applies to any car. Always think about where your end point is. What's the end game for the car? If you're starting out trying to build a 1,000 horsepower car, don't waste money on stuff that's not going to get you there. You're going to have to save up. You're going to be buying parts that you're not going to be using fully initially, but throwing away parts that you don't use or having to go sell them on Facebook Marketplace is less than ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, figure out where you want to go to start with. And the other thing about that is be honest with yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not out doing half-mile roll racing, you're not out street racing.
Which you shouldn't do.
You shouldn't do. No one should street race, ever, ever, ever.
Yep.
But if you're not doing that sort of stuff, you're not going to be using 800, 900,000 horsepower. It's just, you're not. You'd be hard-pressed to use 600 most days because you're going to be through a couple gears and then you're in go-to-jail speed on the street, right? So, and you're going to be getting laggy so that you're not going to be able to just roll up on anybody. You got to make your decisions, plan it out. So be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about your budget, about what your wife will accept in terms of your spending, right?
Yep.
About what, if you have a spare car for when the car is down, because the higher you push the power, the more often that car is going to be down, whether it's for maintenance, parts upgrades, or breaking shit, right? All that's going to happen. So be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about your goals, about what you can afford before you start the modification process, because you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache later on if you are.
Yeah. And I think 500 for most people is honestly the sweet spot. I think it's enough power to get you in trouble and also enjoy on the canyons or open roads, right?
Yeah.
And I think as far as, we were talking about the other day, modern day BMWs make power so easy.
Yep.
I think now the horsepower ceiling has increased,
Yeah.
but 500 I think is a sweet spot generally for most cars and most people.
I'll give you another example too. This
Right.
might be of interest to some of you. Back in the day, we're talking about 10, 12 years ago, we did a lot of work sponsoring J.C. Monet's 06 STI time attack car. And with that car, that was an EJ25. With that car, J.C. won some global time attack stuff, won red line time attack. I think he still holds a record of button willow with the car. So very fast, all-wheel drive. I don't know if it was unlimited or what class it was in, but a very fast car, good aero, everything else. That car, the most we ever made out of it when we were pushing it really, really hard was about 725. And in most configurations, we were only running 650 to 700. Now, could we have gone faster with more power? Yes, but on a budget with the parts we were going with and making sure we had enough mid-range to, power out of corners and not be waiting for turbo lag, that was about the right amount of power. So if you can set records with that kind of power in an STI, do you really need that much on the street? Like I said, unless you're roll racing or something like that,
Right.
Probably not, right?
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up today's discussion. I know I've done this video before in the past, talking about how to make 300, 400, 500 wheel horsepower. Maybe next time, perhaps next weekend, we can get back together and talk about how to make the same amount of power in an F820. It's a lot more different than an STI. I think, one thing that I want to end the video with, talking about being realistic with people's goals and stuff like that is, so I had a 2019 WRX that Sean here tuned, been a customer of his for quite a while before I started working here in whatever capacity it is. But, I wanted to make power, and as soon as I kept making power, I wanted to buy more mods. I was like, let's make more power. When I should have just been honest with myself to begin with and said, you know what? Because when you look at how much money it's going to take to build an F820 that's capable of 500 wheel to the tire, actual 500 wheel, it is very, very expensive on an F820. Because at that point, you're talking about potentially a standalone ECU, managing both port and direct injection.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you were talking about the other day with the STI, one of the great things about the EJ platform being port is we have so much access to fuel.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, teaser for that one, above 400 on an F820, don't bother. Just don't. It's not worth your time at that point. F824, we can talk a little bit more about it, but for an F820, 400 wheel horsepower is doable with a reasonable sized turbo and still staying on direct injection with ethanol, and that's where you should stop at that point.
Yeah.
Because your driveline will thank you and your wallet will thank you.
And we'll see you guys next week.